to whispers in the dark. Turn the lights down and listen carefully. Tonight's story is about a small group of friends who thought they were brave enough to borrow fear for a few hours, like a thrill ride you can step off of whenever you want. They weren't looking for trouble. They weren't trying to summon anything. They just wanted proof, a clip, a laugh, a story to tell later. They found all of that, and something found them back. The night air had the wet metal smell of late autumn, cold enough to sting the inside of your nose, warm enough to keep your breath from becoming fog for long. Street lamps ran out 2 blocks before the industrial estate, leaving the road to flatten into darkness. The only light after that came from their phones, the pale rectangles bobbing in their hands like tiny, nervous lanterns. There were 6 of them. Maya walked first, because she was the one who always walked first. She moved with a tight, purposeful confidence, like she'd already decided the building was harmless, and her body didn't feel like arguing. Dark hair pulled into a knot at the base of her skull, black jacket zipped to her throat. She kept looking up from her screen to the silhouette ahead. Beside her, Noah carried the bigger flashlight, an old, overpowered thing he'd borrowed from his dad's shed. He was tall and lanky, hoodie under a thin coat, the kind of guy who didn't look brave until you watched how he kept his voice steady when it mattered. He clicked the flashlight on and off, making the beam jump. He did it like a joke. It was. Jules followed behind them, cheeks already red from cold. She had that bright, restless energy that made any quiet feel like a mistake. She insisted they bring their small camera. Something in her wanted a record, a receipt, proof for the people who wouldn't come. Her laugh kept bursting out too loud, then dying when it hit the emptiness around them. Ethan walked with his hands in his pockets, shoulders hunched. He was trying not to show it, but he kept glancing back down the road toward the last surviving lamplight. He was the one who'd messaged the group first. Found the place. It's perfect. We should go. Now his excitement sat on him like a coat he wasn't sure fit. Raffi, quiet, broad-shouldered, kept to the edge of the group. He was the one who always noticed details no one else did where the puddles were, how the wind shifted, the way a chain link fence sang when you brushed it. He'd brought a multi-tool and a small first aid kit like it was normal. And then there was Lee, who'd made it very clear she was only here because she refused to be the one left out. She had a scarf up over her mouth and nose, and her eyes were sharp, skeptical. The kind of skeptic who still flinches at a sudden sound because disbelief isn't armor, it's a posture. The building waited at the end of a cracked service road, behind a rusting gate that wasn't locked so much as it was too tired to keep anything out. It had once been a hospital, not the kind with bright signs and glass doors, but the kind that sat out on the edge of town when land was cheap, and people preferred their suffering out of sight. Over time, it had been repurposed, renamed, forgotten. The last sign still clung to the brick in bent metal letters, half torn away so it read like an unfinished warning. The windows were dark holes. The upper floors looked blind. Maya held up her phone. "This is it, the St. Mercy Annex." "St. Mercy," Lee muttered. "That's already a horror title." Jules lifted the camera. The red recording light blinked on, a tiny heartbeat. Okay. For the channel, just say something spooky." Noah cleared his throat, doing his best radio voice. "We're here at the abandoned St. Mercy Annex. Rumors say." "Rumors say nothing," Raffi cut in. His gaze tracked the fence line, then the sagging gate. "This is trespassing." Ethan snorted, forcing a grin. "We're not breaking in. The gate's literally open." "It's open because it's broken," Raffi said. Maya stepped through anyway. Gravel crunched under her boots. The sound traveled, then died, eaten by the building's presence. She took 2 more steps, then paused, looking up at the black windows. Even from outside, it felt like something was listening. They crossed a patch of dead grass and fallen leaves to the main entrance. The doors had been glass once, but now only jagged teeth remained in the frames. Someone had painted over the remaining glass in milky gray. In the center of one panel, a smear looked like a hand print that had been dragged downward. Noah swung the flashlight into the lobby. Dust swam in the beam like slow snow. The air inside was stale, layered with old moisture, and something sharp beneath it. The bitter tang of disinfectant that never fully leaves, even when the building does. The floor was tiled, but several tiles had been popped loose by time and water. In the corners, piles of debris had settled into little dunes. They entered, 6 shadows stretching over the floor, folding into the darkness, as if the building didn't want to admit it had visitors. Jules whispered, "Okay, this is actually insane." Lee pulled her scarf down and immediately winced. "It smells like damp plastic." Ethan's shoes squeaked on tile. He looked around with wide eyes, excitement and unease wrestling. "Reception desk should be right there. Look." A long desk sat against the far wall, half collapsed. Behind it, a bulletin board remained, still pinned with curled papers. Noah swept the flashlight across them. Most were blank or shredded, but one held a faded letterhead, a list of patient codes and times, all typed in neat columns. Someone had written over it in pen, heavy and frantic. "Don't look up." Noah laughed too quickly. "Okay, someone's messing." Maya leaned closer, eyes narrowing. "That's old handwriting." Raffi didn't move in. He stayed in the lobby center, head tilted slightly, listening. "Do you hear that?" They all went quiet. In the silence, the building made its own sounds. A distant drip, the faint tremor of wind through broken windows, the soft creak of settling wood. Then, threaded through it, something else, so faint it could have been imagination. A low, drawn-out exhale. It came from above. Lee's eyebrows rose. Probably wind. "Probably," Raffi said, but he wasn't convinced. Jules kept filming, the lens tracking slowly. Okay, we're here. We'll explore a bit, then we're out. In and out. No stupid dares. Maya's smile flashed. Says you. They moved deeper, past the lobby into a hallway that ran like a throat into the building. Their lights drew a narrow tunnel through the dark. On either side, doors stood open or hung off hinges, some tagged with peeling signs. Storage, admin, exam 2. The ceiling tiles were gone in places, exposing pipes like bones. As they walked, the temperature dipped, not suddenly, not dramatically, just enough that Maya's hands clenched at her sides. No one noticed, too. Did it just get colder? Old buildings are cold, Lee said, but her voice was smaller now. They passed a stairwell leading up. The stairs were concrete and chipped, but solid. Above, darkness stacked itself floor by floor. Noah's flashlight couldn't reach the top. It disappeared into black. Ethan pointed. Should we go up? Raffi answered, without looking away from the stairs. We should not split up. Who said split up? Ethan said. Maya turned on her phone torch too, doubling the light. We can check one floor, just one, then leave. Lee's jaw tightened. We said in and out. Jules leaned in, eyes bright with the thrill of it. Come on. The good stuff is upstairs. Everyone knows the good stuff is upstairs. Noah swallowed, then nodded. One floor together. They climbed. Each footstep sounded wrong here, too loud, too final. The stairs held onto their noise and threw it back, so it felt like someone else was following, matching them one step behind. Lee kept glancing over her shoulder, annoyed at herself for doing it. And each time, she saw only their own shadows staggering on the wall. Second floor. A corridor opened to their left, lined with rooms. A sign hung crooked near the ceiling, women's ward. Another arrow pointed right, men's ward. A third pointed forward, administrative offices. Jules whispered, That's creepy. Maya's light swept across the floor. Drag marks. Like something heavy had been pulled, leaving long scratches in dust. The marks ran from the women's ward down the corridor, into the dark. Ethan crouched, touching one with a finger. Someone been here recently. Raffi stepped closer, frowning. Or something was moved recently. Noah's beam caught something at the end of the hall. A wheelchair, sitting perfectly centered, facing them. Its wheels were turned slightly, like it had been steered into place and left. No one spoke. Then from somewhere far away, a sound rose. Thin, high-pitched, a scream. It wasn't close. It was distant, echoing up the building's hollow spine. It lasted 3 seconds long enough to make their blood go cold, and then it cut off, as if someone had slapped a hand over a mouth. Lee's body reacted before her brain did. She grabbed Maya's sleeve. That was a person. No, Noah said, but his voice cracked. No way, that's someone's playing audio or something. Jules swung the camera toward the hallway, whispering urgently, Did you get that? Did you hear that? Rafi's eyes were fixed on the wheelchair. It came from inside. Maya's lips pressed tight. Her eyes shone with adrenaline. It could be teenagers, like us. Someone messing around. Ethan tried to laugh, failed. Great, so there's a murderer. Noah raised his flashlight, forcing steadiness. We should leave. Jules, always Jules, said. Or we should check where it came from. If someone is actually hurt. Lee snapped. No, no. We're not playing hero in a horror movie. The cold deepened. It slid over their skin like damp cloth. In that moment, the overhead lights flickered. They shouldn't have. The building had no power. Everyone had said that. Every article, every rumor. Yet above them, along the corridor, a line of fluorescent panels shivered into life one by one, dim and buzzing, like eyes opening reluctantly. Light spilled across the floor in sickly pulses. The wheelchair's metal gleamed. Maya stared up, mouth slightly open. How? The lights cut out. Darkness slammed down so fast it felt physical. Noah's flashlight beam jerked wildly, catching faces. Jules with wide eyes, Ethan's open mouth, Lee's clenched teeth, Rafi's hard stare. Then the lights flickered on again, brighter this time, and for half a second the corridor was fully visible. In that half second, someone stood in the doorway of the women's ward. It was tall and thin, too thin, like a body pulled long. Its head tilted slightly. Its skin was the color of old wax. Its mouth looked wrong, too wide, too still, stretched like it was remembering how to smile. Noah's flashlight swung toward it. The lights cut out again. When they came back, the doorway was empty. Jules made a sound like a strangled laugh. Okay, did you see that? Lee backed up, almost tripping. We're leaving. We are leaving right now. Rafi said very quietly, nobody run. Nobody split. They turned as a unit, hurrying back toward the stairwell. Behind them, from the corridor, came the slow squeak of rubber wheels. The wheelchair moved, not rolling fast, just enough that its position changed, enough that its shadow shifted. They didn't wait to see more. They reached the stairwell and stumbled down, shoes scraping on concrete. First floor, lobby. The air there felt warmer, like surfacing from deep water. Their breathing was loud. Jules kept filming, though her hands shook so badly the frame jittered. Noah looked at Maya. We need to go now. Maya nodded, but something stubborn flickered in her eyes. Anger at being scared, anger at losing control. We can. A scream erupted again, closer this time. It came from the direction of the bathrooms, down a side hallway near the lobby. It was unmistakably human, female, raw with panic. It rose into a wail and ended in a choking sob. Lee's eyes went huge. That's not audio. Ethan's face drained. Someone is in there. Rafi's jaw clenched. Could be a trap. Could be someone squatting. Could be. Another sound followed. The unmistakable slam of a door. The scream turned into crying. Soft, broken sobs. Jules whispered, We have to check. Lee hissed, "No, we do not." Maya looked between them, then made the decision like she always did, as if she could cut fear with willpower. "We look together. Quick. If someone's hurt, we call emergency services and get out." Noah exhaled shakily. "Fine, quick." They moved down the hallway, lights overlapping on peeling paint. The crying grew clearer, coming from the women's bathroom at the end. The door hung open, swinging slightly as if it had been moved recently. The air inside was colder. Not like outside. Colder in a way that felt unnatural, as if the temperature had been pulled out of the room and stored somewhere else. Noah shone the flashlight in. Sinks lined the wall, mirrors above them mottled with grime. Stalls stood in a row, their doors closed, except one that hung half open. The crying came from the farthest stall. Maya stepped in first, voice low and careful. "Hello, are you okay?" The crying didn't stop. Lee hovered at the doorway, refusing to cross the threshold. "This is a bad idea." Raffi moved in behind Maya, gaze fixed on the far stall. Jules filmed, whispering, "Oh my God, oh my God." Ethan stayed near the entrance, half turned as if ready to run. Maya took another step. The tiles beneath her boots were wet. She looked down and saw dark stains, old water, maybe, or something else, spreading like bruises across the floor. "Hey," she said again, gentler. "We're just checking. Do you need help?" The sobbing hitched. Then, for the first time, a voice came through it, thin, strained, childlike. "Don't look at me." Maya froze. Noah swallowed audibly. "Who are you?" The voice shivered. "Don't look at me." Jules' camera light trembled. Why would we?" The stall door creaked, not opening, just moving, like a hand had pressed against it from inside. Maya's hand tightened on her phone. "We're leaving," she whispered, and stepped backward. Her movement brushed air that felt like ice water. She flinched, eyes snapping to the mirror above the sinks. In the reflection, her face looked pale and frightened. Behind her, in the mirror only, something stood. It wasn't in the room. The tiles behind her were empty. But in the mirror, a figure loomed close, its skin dark as soot, eyes sunken. Its face shaped like a human's, only if you'd seen humans once, and hated them ever since. Its mouth opened, wider than a mouth should. Maya's breath stopped. The thing in the mirror smiled. Its teeth were too many. Maya stumbled back with a choked noise, turning away from the mirror. But her eyes went back involuntarily. The mirror showed it leaning in, like it could step through glass if it wanted. Its face pressed closer until it filled the reflection. Its eyes locked on hers, and she felt, truly felt, something looking into her from behind the world. The bathroom lights flickered. The crying became laughter. Then, abruptly, the crying stopped entirely. Silence fell like a lid. Raffi's voice was low. "Back out now." They backed out of the bathroom, not turning their backs fully, lights aimed shakily. Lee, still outside, grabbed Maya's arm. "What did you see?" Maya couldn't speak. She kept swallowing, as if trying to force her throat open. Noah said, "There's something in the mirror." Lee stared at them like they'd suddenly grown new faces. No, stop it. From inside the bathroom, a stall door banged once. Hard. Then again, faster, like something was beating its body against it. Jules gasped and ran. The others followed, stumbling back toward the lobby. They reached the entrance and stopped. The glass doors were no longer open. Somehow, in the time they'd been down the hallway, the doors had swung shut. Not fully latched, but pressed together with a firmness that felt deliberate. Noah shoved them. They didn't budge. Ethan's voice rose. What the hell? They weren't. Raffi stepped forward, bracing himself, and pulled hard. The doors shuddered, but stayed closed. Maya finally found her voice, raspy. "Something locking us in." Lee's breath came fast. "It's a building. Buildings don't lock people in." The overhead lights in the lobby flickered once, then settled into a dim glow. A low hum filled the air, like electricity running through dead wires. Jules swung the camera around, voice shaking. "Guys, we're getting this right. This is not normal." Noah looked at the stairwell. "We can find another exit. There has to be a back door." Raffi nodded. "Stay close." They moved through the lobby toward a corridor that led deeper. Their footsteps sounded muffled now, as if the building's air had thickened. The hum grew louder the farther they went, then softened again, like something breathing. They passed rooms with beds overturned, cabinets gutted. In one room, the walls were covered in scratches at shoulder height, as if someone had tried to claw their way out. Lee whispered, "Why would they leave this place like this?" Maya didn't answer. She kept seeing the mirror. They turned a corner and found a door labeled Service Access. Noah pushed it open. A narrow passage led to a stairwell going down. Ethan frowned. "Basement." "No," Raffi said. "Could be a service tunnel. It might lead outside." Lee looked like she wanted to refuse, but the locked front doors and the bathroom behind them left few options. They descended. The air grew heavier with each step, damp and sour. Their lights caught pipes, sweating overhead. The walls were concrete, stained with mineral streaks that looked like tears. Halfway down, Jules' camera made a soft beep. She glanced at it, batteries draining fast. Noah muttered, "Of course it is." At the bottom, a long hallway ran straight, lined with doors. Each door had a small window, but the glass was clouded. The hum was louder here, vibrating faintly through the floor. They passed one door with a sign, "Morgue." Lee stopped dead. "Nope." Ethan swallowed. "There's no way this is the way out." Raffi examined the corridor. Service tunnels can run past storage. Keep moving. As they walked, something changed in the sound of their steps. At first, there were 6 sets of footfalls. Then, after a few seconds, It sounded like 7. Noah slowed, head turning. Stop. They all stopped. In the sudden stillness, the extra footsteps continued. One more step, then another, then stopped too, just behind them. Lee spun around with her phone light. Nothing, just the corridor stretching back into gloom. Doors closed, pipes overhead. Jules whispered, "Did you hear?" A door creaked open on its own. It was the morgue door. Slowly, like a careful invitation, cold air spilled out, stronger than before, carrying a smell like old meat and bleach. Ethan's voice came out thin. "No." From inside, a sound emerged. Soft, wet, like someone breathing through fluid. Raffi grabbed Noah's sleeve. "We keep going. We do not go in there." Maya nodded quickly, eyes wide. "Just keep going." They hurried past. As they did, Noah's flashlight beam swept over the small window in the morgue door. For a fraction of a second, something pressed against the glass from inside. A face, not demon-like this time, human-like enough to make it worse. Pale, swollen, lips parted, eyes open, starring, filmed over with gray. And then it slid away, leaving a smear. Jules made a choking sound. They ran. The corridor opened into a larger service area with shelves and carts and rusting metal tables. A heavy door at the far end had an exit sign above it that glowed faintly, impossibly. Red letters humming in the dark. Lee exhaled a sob of relief. There, we're out. They crossed the room, weaving between debris. The air felt like it was pushing against them now, thickening, resisting. Maya reached the exit door first and grabbed the bar. She pushed. It didn't move. Noah shoved too, shoulder into it. The door shuddered but held. Raffi stepped back, assessing. It might be jammed. Ethan's panic flared. He kicked the door once hard, open. The exit sign flickered, then went out. The hum stopped. For a heartbeat, there was complete silence. Then from behind them, a voice whispered right at ear level, intimate and cold. "Don't look up." They all froze. Lee's hand flew to her mouth. Jules' camera swung wildly, trying to catch something, but the lights showed only empty air. Noah's eyes slowly lifted toward the ceiling. Raffi grabbed his chin and forced it down. "Don't." A thin scratching began above them, in the ceiling tiles, like nails dragging lightly across concrete. It moved, traveling over their heads, following their position. Maya whispered, "We need another way." Raffi scanned the room, eyes sharp. Their maintenance hatch. He pointed to a metal door set low in the wall, half hidden behind a toppled shelf. Noah and Ethan rushed to clear it, shoving debris aside. The metal door had a simple latch. Noah pulled. It opened with a groan, revealing a narrow tunnel, too low to stand, lined with brick. The air that came out of it smelled like earth and old water. "It goes somewhere," Raffi said. "One at a time, fast." Maya went first, crawling into the tunnel. Noah followed. Jules, then Lee, Ethan. Raffi stayed last, shining his flashlight back into the service room. The scratching above grew louder. Then the ceiling tile, directly above the tunnel opening, shifted, just slightly, as if something heavy had settled on it. Testing. Raffi ducked into the tunnel and pulled the metal door partly closed behind him, leaving it cracked so the others wouldn't panic in the dark. They crawled. The tunnel narrowed, brick scraping their shoulders. Their phone lights made the space feel even smaller, shadows writhing along the walls. Somewhere behind them, the metal door clanged once, then again. Then the sound stopped, replaced by something worse. A soft, dragging sound inside the tunnel itself, far behind, like a body being pulled along brick. Lee whispered, voice trembling, "Tell me that's a rat." Noah's breath came fast. "Just keep moving." The tunnel sloped slightly upward. The air grew colder, and with it came a smell like burnt hair. Maya crawled faster, heart hammering. Her knees hit wet patches. The dampness seeped into her jeans. Ahead, she saw a faint glow, moonlight filtering through a grate. "Exit," she whispered. She reached the grate, hands grasping metal. It was bolted, but rusted. She shoved, testing. It held. Noah reached her, breathing hard. Together they pulled and bent until the metal gave with a shriek. Cold night, air poured in. Relief hit them like warmth, almost dizzying. Maya pushed herself out first, into the open. She landed on dead grass behind the building, near a loading dock. The sky was a bruised purple, clouds scudding fast. Wind cut into her damp knees. Noah followed, then Jules, then Lee. Ethan crawled out next, half sobbing with adrenaline. Raffi's last. They waited, clustered near the opening, lights aimed down. The dragging sound inside the tunnel grew louder. Then, for the first time, they heard something like a laugh, low, not quite human, vibrating through brick. "No," Lee whispered. "No, no, no." Raffi's voice echoed from inside, strained. "Go, don't wait." Maya shook her head violently. "No, hurry." A shape moved in the tunnel behind him. Just a darker patch of darkness, sliding forward without limbs. Raffi cursed and scrambled faster. His flashlight beam jolted, catching for an instant a face in the tunnel wall, embedded like it was part of the brick. Eyes open, mouth stretched in a silent scream. Raffi reached the opening, hands grasping grass, hauling himself out. The moment his feet cleared, the tunnel exhaled cold air like a sigh of disappointment. Maya grabbed the grate and yanked it back down, slamming it into place. Inside, something struck the metal once, hard enough to make the whole grate ring. They all jumped. Then, from within the building behind them, a scream erupted, closer than any before. It wasn't human. It sounded like the building itself was screaming. They ran. They didn't stop until they reached the road, stumbling into the weak glow of the last street lamp, like survivors crawling into daylight. They bent over, gasping. Lee was crying openly now. Jules had lowered the camera and was staring at it like she couldn't remember why she'd ever wanted proof. Noah looked at Ethan. Is everyone here? Maya counted quickly, heart still pounding. Maya, Noah, Jules, Lee, Ethan, Raffi. 6. All accounted for. For a moment, the world felt normal again. Cars distant, wind in trees, streetlight buzzing above. Jules let out a shaky laugh that turned into a sob. We're never doing that again. Ethan nodded violently. Never, ever. Raffi wiped his face with trembling hands. We should call someone, report something. The doors were locked, the lights. Lee snapped, voice sharp with fear. And say what? That a demon was in a mirror. That the building screamed. Noah swallowed. We can say we heard someone screaming. Maya stared back toward the dark estate. The building was barely visible now, just a heavier shadow against the night. But she felt it, like a fingertip pressing against the back of her mind. Let's just go, she whispered. They turned, walking fast toward the safer streets, their phones bright in their hands. Halfway down the road, Jules' camera beeped again. She looked down at the screen, frowning. It's still recording. Ethan glanced over. Didn't it die? Jules shook her head slowly, face pale. Battery at 0, but it's recording. Noah's voice was quiet. Turn it off. Jules' thumb hit the button. Nothing happened. The red light kept blinking. Maya's skin prickled. Jules, give it here. Jules handed it over with shaking hands. Maya held the camera like it was something alive, something that might bite. She pressed the power button. Again. Harder. The screen flickered. For a moment, the image on it wasn't the road. It was the bathroom mirror. Maya's own face stared back from the screen, frozen in terror. And behind her in the reflection, the soot-dark face smiled. Teeth too many, eyes too deep. The image shifted, as if someone behind the camera had moved closer. The demon's mouth opened. A voice came out of the tiny speaker, wet and intimate. Don't look at me. Maya dropped the camera like it burned. It hit the pavement, cracking. But the red light kept blinking through the shattered casing. Raffi backed away, eyes wide. Smash it. Noah lifted his foot and stomped hard. Plastic shattered. The blinking red light went out. They stood in the sudden quiet, breathing raggedly. Lee whispered, "It followed us." Maya stared at the broken pieces and felt, deep in her chest, a certainty like a stone sinking. "It saw us," she said. "That's what it wanted." Noah's voice was barely audible. "We didn't do anything." Raffi looked at the dark estate behind them. Maybe being seen is enough. They kept walking, faster now, not wanting to be still for even a second. When they reached Maya's car, hands shaking as she fumbled the keys, she glanced up at the rear view mirror. Her own eyes stared back at her. For one heartbeat, she thought she saw a shadow behind her head, a hint of something too long and too still. Then her reflection blinked. Normal, frightened, human. She started the engine. The radio came on automatically, blasting music too loud. They all flinched like it was a scream. Maya turned it down, swallowing hard. They drove. The city lights grew brighter. Houses appeared. Normal life resumed around them like a cruel joke. But none of them felt normal, because in the back of the car, in the silence between breaths, something faint seemed to ride with them, an absence that pressed gently at the edge of hearing, like someone crying behind a closed door. When they reached Noah's house first, he got out quickly, mumbling goodbye, still pale. Jules and Lee left next, clinging to each other like they could stitch themselves back together. Raffi left without a word, eyes scanning shadows out of habit now. Ethan stayed last, sitting in the passenger seat as Maya parked outside his building. He didn't move for a long moment. Finally, he said, "Do you think it ends?" Maya's hands gripped the steering wheel. "I don't know." Ethan swallowed. What if it picked one of us? Maya didn't answer, because the question landed in her stomach like ice. Ethan got out, shutting the door softly like he didn't want to wake something up. He walked toward the entrance, shoulders hunched, keys in hand. Maya watched him until he disappeared inside. Then she drove home alone. In her flat, she locked the door twice. She left the hallway light on. She washed her hands for too long, scrubbing as if she could remove the feeling of being looked at. She avoided mirrors. She climbed into bed and lay staring at the ceiling, listening to the building settle, listening to pipes, listening to wind. At some point, her phone buzzed. A message from Jules. "Did you see the footage? It's saved to my cloud. I didn't upload it, I swear. It's just there." Maya's throat tightened. Another buzz. "Ethan, I can hear something in my bathroom, like crying." Then Raffi, "Don't open any doors if you hear a voice." Maya stared at the messages until the screen dimmed. In the darkness of her room, her wardrobe mirror faced the bed, a tall rectangle of black. She tried not to look, but eyes drift like magnets. She glanced. In the mirror, the room was the same. Bed, window, curtains. And then, a shape behind her, not moving, not breathing, just standing impossibly close, like it had always been there, and she'd simply refused to notice. Maya's entire body went rigid. Her breath locked in her chest. The mirror didn't show a demon this time. It showed Maya alone, sitting upright in bed, and behind her, a young woman, pale and wet-haired, eyes rimmed red from crying. Her mouth trembled like she was trying to speak. The woman lifted a finger and pressed it to her lips. "SHH." Maya's lips parted soundlessly. The woman in the mirror mouthed words with careful slowness, like she needed Maya to understand. "Don't look up." Maya's gaze flicked upward involuntarily, toward the ceiling. A soft scratching began above her. Not in the ceiling. Inside it, something moved, traveling slowly across plaster. And from the wardrobe mirror, the crying woman's face changed. Her mouth stretched wider than it should. Her eyes darkened. Her skin turned soot black, as if someone had poured night over her like paint. The demon smiled, and in Maya's room behind her, not in the mirror, something exhaled, long and warm, against the back of her neck. Maya didn't scream. She couldn't, because the last thing she heard before the light snapped off in her room, before her phone screen died, before her world became nothing but cold and dark, was the soft, delighted sound of rubber wheels squeaking on tile. The next morning, the police report called it a string of disappearances, like words could tame it, like language could box it up and label it and keep it from leaking into the rest of the world. 6 friends went into the St. Mercy Annex that night. Only 4 were seen again. They said the building had no power. Yet witnesses on the road near the industrial estate reported seeing the upper floors flicker, with light on and off, like a signal, like a heartbeat. When investigators finally pried open the locked doors and searched, they found no bodies, no blood, no signs of struggle, just a wheelchair in the center of the second-floor corridor, facing the women's ward. And on the reception desk, beneath a layer of dust that hadn't been disturbed for years, a fresh hand print dragged downward, as if someone had pressed their palm there from the inside, trying to get out. Pinned to the bulletin board behind it was a single paper, newly tacked up with a clean thumbtack. 6 names were written in neat letters. 2 had been crossed out, and beneath them, in a shaky, frantic scrawl, 3 words were added. Don't look up. If you made it to the end of this story, I want you to do something small before you click away. Look around your room. Not fast, not like you're checking, just notice. Notice where the shadows are. Notice the mirrors. Notice the quiet sounds your place makes when you're alone. And if you hear something that could be the wind or pipes or your neighbor's TV, listen twice before you dismiss it. Sometimes the second time is when it stops sounding like the world and starts sounding like something else. If you enjoyed this nightmare, you know what to do. Like the video, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you'd do if the door behind you locked on its own and the lights came on in a building that shouldn't have power. Would you run? Would you investigate? Would you look in the mirror? And one more thing, when you turn your screen off and your room goes dark, don't look up. Good night.
Don't look up.